im se svima, i malima i velikima, i bogatima i siromašnima, i slobodnjacima i robovima, dade žig na njihovu desnu ruku ili na čela njihova, te da nitko ne može ništa kupiti ili prodati.
Pozdrav dragi narode, dobrodošli u još jednu epizodu Slobodnog podcasta. Moje ime je Andrija Klarić. Moj današnji gost se zove Jacob Nordangard. On je švedski istraživač. Čime se on bavi? Istražuje da li je pitanje novog svjetskog poretka ili, kako kažu, veliki reset ili Build Back Better, neki od tih kratica. Da li je to samo teorija zavjere ili stvarnost kojom svjedočimo? Naime, možda bi ga najbolje predstavio sa pitanjem koje sam mu postavio tokom intervjua, koje je glasilo: što možemo poručiti onima koji na vaše tvrdnje kažu to je sve teorija zavjere? Njegov odgovor je jednostavan. Recite im da pročitaju službene dokumente Ujedinjenih naroda, jer tamo sve piše. Te dokumente je on pročitao za vas i prezentirao u razgovoru sa mnom, pa poslušajte sami.
Hello, Jacob. Jacob Nordangard. Yes?
Yes.
Great. It's a pleasure to meet you here. We are here in Stavanger, in Norway, after our really great conference. And you were one of the very interesting speakers. Can you tell for our audience in Croatia a few words about yourself?
Well, I have a background as a PhD in technology and social change. I'm a geographer and a culture and media producer. That's my academic background. And I also, I'm a musician. So I have two sides, an artistic side and this research side. Scientific and artistic.
Great,
yeah.
Great combination.
Yeah.
Well, you are the expert in some things that now lots of people talking about. That means what we faced last 3 years, but not only last 3 years, but we face it in a hard way. That was something what was happening already long ago, preparing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something what was really going on in the last few decades before this happened?
Well, yeah, it's a long strategic plan that has been unfolding, and it's about reshaping the system as we have, and break down the old order and create the new order.
Great reset, maybe.
Maybe you could say the great reset, but this has have been a plan that has been working out, as you said, it's decades before this happened, because the great reset it more, or the pandemic. The pandemic was the trigger, the triggering event to make this plan happen.
Mm-hmm. Can you point out the main history events what brought to this?
Well, you can go back to, as I've done in my research, I think in the 50s some important things happened, and one thing is in 1952 it was a meeting in Williamsburg, United States, about population.
Mm-hmm.
And this meeting was initiated by John D. Rockafeller III. I mean, he was the grandson to the legendary John D. Rockefeller, the founder of Standard Oil Corporation. And in this meeting, because his grandson, the third, he was very interested in population and the increase of population, and how could we do something about this problem. It was rooted in Malthusian ideas, about food supplies not meeting the increase in population. So how can we do something about it? So they had a meeting 1952, and out of that meeting came the organization Population Council. Population Council. And we also discussed at this meeting a plan to reduce the population on Earth. How could this be achieved? At the same meeting, I can say at this meeting, a lot of eugenicists were there. Or people that were into the idea of how can we more or less recreate the human and upgrade human, do humans better through genetics and other techniques. But also at this meeting was an oceanograph, Roger Revelle. Roger Revelle was one of the most influential persons in the world to introduce the theory of global warming, or the human influenced climate. So that was very connected, this idea of reduction of population and the carbon dioxide theory of the climate. Because carbon is humans, and the reduction of carbon is reduction of humans in order to get the world into balance.
Can you please, in short sentence, explain what is eugenics?
Well, eugenics, it was what the Germans were doing, the Nazi party. Philosophy was grounded in eugenics and how to more or less, you have to get rid of the lesser races, the bad people, the bad genes, and you have to get better genes, and also the idea of evolving humans to a superhuman. A lot of these ideas comes through eugenics. It's the idea to direct human evolution.
And after that was 1952.
1952, and a couple of years later, it was initiated by John D. Rockefeller III's brother, Nelson Rockefeller, and a project. Because I followed the Rockefeller philanthropists. It's in my book, Rockefeller Controlling Your Game, where I studied, I wanted to know why they were interested in the climate issue. And they talked about in their annual reports about a special project that they received a lot of money for. Out of that came the Special Studies Project, initiated by Nelson Rockefeller. And he had the Rockefeller brothers had a new friend. It was Henry Kissinger. They put him in charge of this new project. And they discussed, and they hired a lot of influential people, thinkers in the United States, because it was a saying that Nelson Rockefeller, he wasn't a thinking guy. He knew what he wanted, but he hired people that could do the thinking, the strategies for him. So that was he was doing. And in this project, it was a couple of years. They were investigating how you can say the problems that America could face in the coming decades. And also they discussed how they could create a new world order.
They call it that name.
They call it that
New
name
World Order.
in that book, a new world order that is social, political, economic, religious, whatever. In every aspect of life we wanted to change the system that was to a new system. And this was also built on, because the Rockefellers were or are internationalists and very into the idea of United Nations, and so it was a basic idea to how do we make United Nations a more powerful institution, because they gradually wanted to get the power to this supranational organization. But they want to create out of the United Nations at that time. I mean, that was more a discussion club, and of course for peace talks and preventing wars, which they were never successful, of course, with that. But they wanted to create a more powerful institution in the end. So they had this idea of United Nations becoming a kind of world government. So in this report they discussed a couple of problems that could be used to further the agenda. And they identified science as one thing, because science and internationalism goes very hand in hand, because we have had these scientific networks working over borders. So that was one thing that they had observed, and they had also worked very hard with this through their foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, building these networks and funding university all over the world. So and in that way they could influence also the scientific direction. And what they were prescribing in this report was, we use science and we can use some areas in science that are about problems, scientific problems that goes over borders. So they identified two main areas, and one was the climate, the atmosphere, and the oceans, meteorology and oceanography. So and they say in this report that if we don't have right weather control.
When was this?
It was in 1958, I think. This part of
talking about weather control.
Yeah, we're talking about weather control, and if you talk about this with climate change and the climate science, I mean, it's evolved very much out of the military, because the military is very interested in of course, climate and weather, how to prepare for an offensive and how warfare. It's very connected to how weather is. I mean, Operation Barbarossa and so on. We have had this things that has done when the preparations for this wasn't that good. So it's very, very important for an army to know about the climate and weather. So of course, and they also discussed at this time how can we influence the climate in certain ways. But they said that if we haven't a good weather control, this can spiral out of control, more or less. And so we have to have an international cooperation to handle this. Because
whether it's a matter of all countries, doesn't have borders.
Yes, no borders. And the second thing was pandemics. or global health, because diseases can cross borders.
That's right.
So we also has to have this international control. And of course the Rockefeller Foundation, they had already been very involved in the creation of the International Health Organization, the first version, not WHO, but the first organization that was under the League of Nations. So the Rockefeller Foundation were more or less running the show at that time, and they were also very involved in WHO in the beginning, 1948. But it was founded. So they had prepared these things before and identified the problems, and now they were going to work with them. And they had this grand plan as well to how to control population. I think that was the key when I was studying these things, because I wanted to understand what was the argument for them to actually promote the climate movement and everything. And it was rooted in this idea of we have to control population. And the second thing, control the resources, or more or less, it's the same thing. The resources of people and resources of the planet. So it sticks to it. It's very obvious when you look through all the annual reports and what they are funding and how they are arguing about it.
Okay, and now we come in the last, we can say, 10 years exactly from 2010, when this famous report, Lockstep, came from the Rockefeller Foundation, where they explain what will happen in case of future pandemics.
Yes.
Yeah. And they put inside all the steps what we are facing last 3 years.
Yes.
And lots of people saying that was only practice. It was not prepared for something that will happen really. It was just practice in case, who knows, that we will be prepared.
Yeah, just that it happened exactly that way that they
maybe this is coincidence.
Yeah, maybe, but it's a lot of coincidences.
Which
all the time. So because if you look at this report, where Lockstep is a part of, this is based on other scenarios before. We had this a big project called the Global Scenario Group. It was founded in the 90s. The ideas was, how can we achieve a new global planetary society with a planetary regime and world authority and everything. And in these scenario reports, they discussed how this could be achieved. And a pandemic was one of the ways. So this has been part of a scenario planning that you can follow step by step, and how this has been achieved. Because they also, in this scenario reports, it's thick books. They come up with how can we do it? How can we create this idea of an utopian society? And so they have a prescription on how to create, for example, movements. We call it the global citizens movement. In order to influence the world, the people of the world, to rise up and demand changes. That they want this new system to take care of them. And also they state that to achieve this new society, there will be triggers. There will be a crisis that will come to create this and invest in this the great transition report that came out of this, that a pandemic could be the big trigger to achieve this. And it's just to follow what's written in these reports and just check what has happened afterwards. And it's just okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's important, all these resources, exactly all this information we can find in your books.
Yeah.
And I'll put in the link below where people can buy the books. Some of them are already translated in English, some will be translated
Yes, they are.
Soon,
Yeah.
Very soon, okay? That means whoever wants to research to see what you already done, they can go buy a book and see what is going on. What is important now, that we are in 2023, and it seems to that lots of things what happened in the last 3 years, bringing us to something that now we are calling totally digitalized society.
Yes. Yeah.
What you can tell us about this?
Yes, because that was, and if you look into this Rockafeller Foundation scenario from 2010, it was a scenarios about technology and development. So we discussed ways to implement the new emerging technologies for this new society. And I also describe this in my book about the Rockefellers, about how would they save the planet, because it always...
Save from who? From people in the planet?
They said we have to save the planet from global warming, we have to save the planet from pandemics.
Who is the danger for planet? People who are living here in planet. What they say? Who is the biggest danger for the planet?
Humans. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I mean, that was also decided by a think tank called Club of Rome that came up with a lot of these ideas, and they say
they are also humans.
Yeah.
Are they? These people who decided, are they humans or?
They think they are more than humans. Here we have this elitist philosophy, but some people feel that they are more evolved, they are higher up in the thinking and über alles, yes. And I mean it's eugenic philosophy. We have to get rid of these useless eaters. But we that has risen to this position, that has the power and the money, it's like it's God-given. We have got this position because we are better. And therefore we can decide that the rest of the population is unfit for this.
Okay, let's go to digitalization.
Yeah, digitalization. So the digitalization agenda, it comes out of this, because how to save the planet, and that for that came a big plan. And that big plan was the fourth industrial revolution, declared by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum in 2016.
Okay, this book also I'll put in the link below this video.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a manifesto for futuristic technologies, and it's all about digitization. And they also, the World Economic Forum signed a partnership with United Nations. And here
it was in
2019. And
just 1 year before pandemic starts.
Yes.
Again, coincidence.
And then they declared the Decade of Action, United Nations, and they had this motto, shaping the future together. And the pandemic happened at the UN's 75th anniversary, and that's when the Great Reset happened. So what happened is that United Nations and their goals, the Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Goals, was merged with the fourth industrial revolution. That was the way to solve hunger and poverty and water and every and of course health. Every aspect of life would be solved.
Consumption.
Yeah, every aspect of life would be solved with this digital technologies. 70 goals.
Yeah, 17 goals.
70 goals.
Okay.
And one of the goals is also partnership to achieve this. So they merged, and they have now a plan for this digitization. And it was released by the United Nations in 2021. It's called Our Common Agenda.
Our
Common Agenda. They released a report called Our Common Future in 1987. So it's a continuation of a thinking, but now it has merged with this technological system thinking. So Our Common Agenda, it's a plan to more or less digitize everything and collecting data from everyone. It's about introducing digital identification for everyone.
Digital ID.
Digital ID.
Yeah.
So you have to have
Croatia, it's already from July 2021. We have digital ID.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know it was introduced in a lot of countries during the pandemic.
Yeah, it was during
the
pandemic.
Because the pandemic was used to further in this system. So, and with that, it comes with CBDCs, central bank digital currency, and a social credit system. Because all the data...
China model.
Yeah, because all the data that you... because it means that everything you do will be connected to the central database, what you can say.
Who will control this central database? Artificial intelligence or some people?
Yeah, I would say artificial intelligence will be one part of this, because it's a lot of data that you have to sort out. But of course, it's people that are doing writing the algorithms and what the AI is supposed to do and look for and warn for, because they want to create a system that can warn about potential crisis or potential dangers or dangerous peoples, dangerous social groups.
Does this system can create maybe future, for example, crisis? Not only war, maybe they can create it.
They can create it, of course, yeah. And because one of the main things of this Our Common Agenda, I mean, a lot of people, they discuss this with the WHO and how the new international health regulations, and that it will give WHO a lot of power. They will have the power. But this is a part of what they say in this report, an emergency platform. Because all this data will warn about potential crisis. And when a crisis hits, when the system says emergency, we will put together a platform with certain actors, like we saw in the pandemic. It happened fast, and this emergency platform, it will be run by protocols, so that everyone knows what they are supposed to do, so that this platform works in unison. No independent thinking. No one would raise their voices and say this is wrong to do. It's just when this happened, everyone do what they are told to do. So this is, I think it's a very dangerous situation.
Now we are talking about, it's very important, there is some new suggestions, exactly, negotiation about international health regulations.
Yeah.
And inside, in details, is explained how they plan to change and move the power from the state, even above each country's constitution, to the power of World Health Organization in case of future pandemics.
Yes.
Now we are in the middle of negotiation about this.
Yeah.
And this will happen lately next year. It should be voted in May of 2024, as I'm well informed.
Yes, they will. And in the same year, in the autumn, in September, they will have the Summit of the Future in the United Nations. And there...
Who then?
Who?
Who will have a summit?
The United Nations. United Nations, yeah. Because when they will decide about this, our common agenda, and this with WHO is a part of this. WHO is a UN agency, so it's a part of this. So it's a preparation to create this new system. But we will have, I mean, that's health. So that's one part of the emergency platforms will be run by WHO, of course. And then you will have another part that was about climate change. And every aspect, every crisis you can think of will be a part of the system. And also you will have businesses that will be a part of this as well. Because crisis creates opportunities, it creates business opportunities. So we have these incentives. I mean, this is a largely fascistic construction, I would say.
Okay, there is a web page of Economic Forum, World Economic Forum. And this page, there is a presentation in each part. Everybody who wants to check it out can go there, click in the part, for example, climate, for example, digitalization, for example, pandemic, and all the steps are already there. And now we have one organization, private company, exactly, who made arrangement with the not national organization, UN, and they are running on the way of Agenda 2030 or 2030. And they have already steps. Who elect these people to do this? Nobody.
They are non-elected. And that's what we get. It's in a society run by experts, but we don't elect them. So
that means we don't decide who will run us.
No, it's the technocrats. It's a technocratic system run by experts. And we have no say, but they think they do it for our sake. We will create a perfect society for you. Take care for everything.
They're doing this for us.
Yeah, it's like the big mother, big mother, and we will guide your life from the cradle to the grave.
About anything.
We're not supposed to think.
Don't suppose, because we cannot think. We have them think for us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And a lot of people doesn't think today. So
we are now facing in Croatia. Now we enter in Eurozone just 2 months ago. And at the end of this year, exactly on October, as I heard from Christine Lagarde, who is chief of European Central Bank, she says that will be decision about digital euro.
Yeah.
What is the digital euro?
I mean, that's the beginning of the central bank digital currency that I told about. And that will become, that is money that is traceable. As digital money, traceable, and it can be programmed. It's
What does it mean it can be programmed?
Well, during the pandemic, I know from examples in France, they were discussing that we could shut off people's payments if they go outside of zone 3 miles from their homes. So you only use it in a certain geographical area. So and they can also say that you have to use your money within 30 days, then it will expire.
Expiring date for money.
Yeah. So it's a lot of
Like food.
Yeah.
Like eggs.
Yeah. So it's not like physical money, cash. I mean, you can use it. You can keep it at home, whatever you like. But this, I mean, it's on an account, and they can watch whatever you do, and they can take taxes whenever they like, and they can shut down you whenever they like, if you are a social problem for the society. And I mean, we saw examples on this during the pandemic. I mean, we had in Canada. Yeah. And also we have had this during, the Russian the war in Ukraine, and they shut down Russian bank accounts and everything. So, and this show they can do this for whatever reason they like, and it isn't important the person that is affected. They can just decide, oh, it's this group of people, and just shut it down. And that's an aspect of the digital ID as well.
Okay, what are the tools that can do it? We now mentioned digital money, digital wallet, digital ID. What else? Carbon footprint?
Yeah, carbon. Yeah, of course, because that's one of the reasons they want to digitize everything, because they can measure the carbon in everything.
I saw on my ticket.
Yeah, of course.
There's a ticket that says how many CO2 I spend during this travel from Croatia to Norway.
Yeah, exactly. So they do it already, of course.
That means in the future they're put in my digital ID quantity they can spend per month.
Yeah.
And if I go over it, they can block my money to buy, for example, new ticket to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible. Everything is possible with this. And also, I mean, they could tax you for the carbon amount. Yeah, and also say, I mean, you can't spend more because you have your budget is the carbon budget.
For example, I want to eat meat.
Yeah,
and the meat is coming from the cows.
Yeah.
And cows are producing nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is not good for the climate.
Yeah,
and then if I want to eat my meat, they said no, because you are infecting on climate.
Yeah, and they could also, I mean, if you don't take care of yourself.
If I
buy alcohol or overweight and everything, so they can say it's not good for you.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Yeah,
I don't see the problem. Yeah, they will take care of everything.
Yeah, and also introduce this social credit system. Okay. So you get points for everything.
Can you explain what is exactly social credit system on example of China we have now? This sample.
I mean, it's all about your behavior, and that could be, and in China it can be things like being kind to your neighbor, or taking care of your parents, and but it can be used on anything. So you get points for whatever you do, and but it was introduced with for credit, for money. If you are a good person that pays back all the time, and but if you don't, your credit get low, of course. So, but they introduce this on every aspect of life. So it becomes kind of more or less of a computer game, and I think that will be a way to introduce it for young people, because I have so many points now, and because I do these good things, and it can be a thing to measure with other people. I have this score, and this score, if you have a good score, you can go to a good school, and you can buy. You can go for a longer vacation and everything. So it's a perfect tool to control people's behavior.
Okay, I heard also just a few days ago that in China there is a lot of people who has so low credit score they cannot travel by train. Yeah. But they have now opportunity to buy out their score, give them more money to government, and they'll upgrade the score. Yeah, there's additional taxes for people who are not behave well, as I understand.
Yeah, of course it could happen. So I mean,
it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's
right now in China. But China is something really everybody see, and they have a communist system, for a long time, and they have to obey it. How can they implement this in countries like Europe or United States? That's our traditional democracies, and all freedom and development coming from these states. How they can do it?
Fear.
By fear.
By fear. I mean, the things they did during the pandemic shows that they can do these things.
They will create fear, and we will willingly give our freedom just to protect us from the fear.
Yes, I mean, and in Sweden they changed the constitution.
What they done in Sweden?
Yeah, they changed the constitution, and this is a preparation for the next pandemic, and so that they can shut down the country in another way than they did. So I mean, it's a preparation for these things, and with this emergency platform, that will be the thing with an emergency platform is, I mean, it becomes martial law. They can do whatever they like, and when this emergency comes, they just it's an emergency. We have to do this. It's just accepted, and then they can just and they state in their common agenda report that but we will only use it during the pandemic or a crisis. So when the crisis is over, we will disband this platform. But if we still have a crisis, and that's the Secretary General, he decides if we will continue. And we know about the pandemic that they continued with these things.
Who will decide what is the crisis?
They are planning for a structure at the United Nations, a sort of a commission that will discuss this crisis, and so they will have something that's called the Futures Lab, and the Futures Lab is kind of a digital crystal ball, so they can see into what will happen, and then they will decide upon is this a problem that we have to do something about. But this isn't finished. This is a negotiation now about how this structure will look like in the end at this meeting they will have in 2024.
This is sounds to me like, of course, a theory. Conspiracy theory, like in the book of Dan Brown when they made quantum computer, and who recognized everything what was happening in the past, and now he can model what will happen in the future. And everything will be done by quantum computer who has enough power to predict the future.
Because
but this was novel. This is novel of Sam Brown, but Now it's reality, as you say.
Yeah. I mean, it's just to read the report from United Nations and how we discuss this.
Where we can find this report?
United Nations webpage. It's just to search for United Nations, Our Common Agenda.
Our Common Agenda in United Nations.
And they this year publish policy briefings about each area, because in this Our Common Agenda we have 12 commitments to achieve Agenda 2030. So, and this year they have had consultations from member states, and also they talk about consultations from us, but nobody knows about this report. So I don't think that many people actually have a say in it. It's never like that.
That's why we are talking now, because we want everybody to know this.
Yes, it's very important. I think it's the most important things that has happened. I mean, for the United Nations, because this is about our future, and they talk about the future as well, the future agenda. And they also, I know a lot of influential people now talking about we have to make sure that the futurists take control of this. The futurists will be a part. Yeah.
Is there a school for this futurist? University or something like this?
No real university. I think it's just a title that you give yourself. But it's futurist is someone that more or less want to control the future. Look into the future and control the future. It's ideology.
It seems it's like a self-made prophecy.
Yes.
You make prophecy, and then you do everything that this prophecy
to achieve
reality.
it. That's a futuristic idea, and that's what all of these scenario reports is about. Because those who write this, they are the futurists. And the futurists now have their own Mecca.
Where?
You know where?
Yeah.
Dubai. Yeah. In Dubai we have this called the World Government Summit.
World Government Summit, I remember. Yeah. That was last year in spring, I think.
It is just 1 month after World Economic Forum's meeting.
World Economic Forum meeting was in May, I think, and that was in June. No, before this. No, doesn't matter. First half of 2022.
It's usually this. In January, annual meeting for the World Economic Forum. In February, the World Government Summit. And Klaus Schwab, the chairman of World Economic Forum, has stated that World Government Summit is the little brother of the Davos meeting.
They have a family.
They have a family, and both United Nations and the World Economic Forum are founders of this World Government Summit in Dubai. And this is a hotbed for these futuristic ideas and to create this future society. And we discuss a lot of we discuss social credits and everything at these meetings, and how they will influence. And now we have this year at this summit they create a new organization that's called the Global Future Society. Because they want this Mecca for the futurists in Dubai. So all this so you can find people like Harari, Yuval Harari.
Noah Yuval Harari.
And a lot of these transhumanistic thinkers. And this is of course grounded in the eugenic philosophy that I talked about in the beginning. It's the same.
Okay, what we can say to people who are now first time hearing about this and they think this will not happen. No way that somebody is so evil, they want to, I don't know, kill few billion people in the long term or in the short term, and also have a control of all others, because this is evil force, as we say. What we can tell to them if they don't believe us?
I think, I mean, it's very easy to check out for yourself.
How?
You have internet. You can just type in what we've been talking about. United Nations, our common agenda, World Economic Forum, World Government Summit. Everything is out and just to read. You can just download all these reports. Or you can also, I mean, I've done the work to compile all these things. I've been working to go through all this documentation because, I mean, it's, for example, the Rockafeller Foundation, the Rockafeller philanthropists, they are very, very good at keeping records. So we have this Rockafeller archives that is spanning for like 100, more than 100 years with all that we have done. So it's very easy. If you're a researcher, everything is there. It's just to check everything.
Just read. And or job for researching, you've done it for people.
Yeah, I've done it. So the easy way is, of course, to buy one of my books, because and there you can find also all the reports that I have been using. So it's very, very easy to check everything and see that I have been correct in what I've been writing. So everything is there. Yeah.
They are not hiding.
No,
they are publicly speaking. Just it seems to that you cannot find this kind of discussion in mainstream media.
No.
Why?
Because they don't think people. I mean, if people know about these things for real, they will oppose, of course. But on the other hand, all material is there. You can find it because they publish everything. And I mean, I usually ask, when I have lectures, I ask people, so, how many have you have heard of our common agenda? And I haven't met at any meeting someone that had heard of that report before. And of course, that's because mainstream media doesn't mention it.
Well, okay, that's why we are here.
Yeah.
That's why we are alternative media who wants to open this discussion, because I would like really that everything what you say, it's really just conspiracy theory, and you are talking really something that will never happen. I would really like it, because that means in the future my children will have a good life. Because these people are preparing for us a better life in the future. That means better life even for my children. And if they succeed, my children will have a better life than myself. And it's very good news for me. But what if it's not true? What if what you are telling us now, everything exactly as you're saying? What people can do?
Well, people have, the thing is, we have to start getting this out, because, I mean, we need a public discussion, and people need to be aware of this, because if we aren't aware, of course we can do anything about it. It will just happen. So I think it's very important that, and also to actually check everything, to download, especially our common agenda, and take it for up to discussion with other people. What is this about? And also hold politicians accountable. and discuss it with them. What are you preparing and why? And ask questions all the time.
Maybe ask for guarantees that nobody will use these plans, good plans, what are looking good for a future of humanity, not use it for something else.
Yes, the thing is, I mean, we have seen with the pandemic what happened. So, in that perspective, what could happen if we have this emergency platform?
Yeah.
And we know about power, how power has worked before. I mean, this isn't new. I mean, power works that way. And if someone gets it, they will use it.
Yeah. Power corrupts people.
Yeah, it does. And this gives absolute power over people or their whole planet. And that's very scary.
Next step, what people can do, it's to open discussion about new international health regulation agreement, or as somebody call it, new treaty. What is happening right now, and there's some parliaments who will discuss it openly. This is something in this moment very crucial to be open in all the parliaments around Europe and the world.
Yeah.
And we as a people can say that nobody can be above our constitution.
Yeah.
Can we do something about digital money in that way?
I think we have to, I mean, the thing is, our laws say that, I think, I mean, I know we're sitting in Norway and they have to, a shop have to take cash.
Yeah.
And I think we have the same in Sweden, but they kind of take it away anyway, because people think it's convenient instead. Mm-hmm. So what we have to do is to keep the cash and use it as much as we can, and also influence shopkeepers, and because they have to be aware as well, and we have to help each other with this, because if we got this digital system, and only the digital system, I mean, I'm not against all digitization, of course. Something is good. I mean, it's technology. It's not that it's evil in itself. It's, I mean, how we use this that can be evil. But we have to keep and it's very important to take care of what we have. We have the physical, and we have to take care of use physical cash and have physical meetings with people and everything, because we have been lulled into this digital world, and the young people, youth, they are very into just watching their cell phones all the time or smartphones, and so that's an important thing to get people together and start working together, and with this awareness that many have, and I think that the people that are aware of this should come together more, because if we do that, we create a stronger power, and because if you're alone, you can influence only a couple people. But if you are a larger group, mm-hmm. you can influence even more, mm-hmm. and that will. And if people start to recognize that, oh no, it's not only one nutcase that I know of. Mm-hmm. Now it's have a neighbor, have someone where I'm working with, and it's and I know also this with people that think they are alone. They think they are alone in their thinking about it's just me that, and other people see me as a conspiracy theorist or whatever, a denier, and I'm just alone. So I have a lot of people that talks to me and say, I'm just alone. And I say, no, you're not alone. I have contacts with people every day that talks about exactly the same thing as you. You're not alone. It's just that you are afraid to talk to certain people because you think that they think these thoughts about you if you say this. But in some ways, we're all humans.
No.
And I think if how many humans want an inhuman system?
What do you think about the idea to put in the constitution that cash has to stay as a way of paying? Because they are not hiding, they want a cashless society. If we receive cashless society, that means everything will be digitalized with this digital currency. That means they will have power to switch off somebody. But if we keep cash in our system, minimum as long as it takes until we have really certainty that this will not happen, this dystopian society. Maybe the idea to put in constitution that cash has to be accepted and keep it that way until we change it, of course, that will be the way of payment. What do you think about this idea?
Yes, and as I say, I think it's in law, written in law in a lot of countries already, that they are supposed to have cash.
Because if they don't have this attention, then it's not really be a problem to put in the constitution.
Yeah.
If you say, no, we will not do it, then okay, just give us guarantee. If it's in constitution, you cannot do it.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Well, this, what we have been talking about now, is something that I think in the future will be much more topic, because things are happening very fast.
Yeah.
Now we have this World Health Organization International Health Regulation decision, treaty for the future pandemics, and that will be finished in May of 2024. Then digital money, central bank digital currency, what will be end of this year for Europe.
Yeah.
And I think United States already tested for 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah, and I know that Russia has this as well.
That's right. Russia is all, Canada also, I think now. That means things will happen in the next 1.5 year.
Yeah, and if they can declare this emergency, it will happen even faster.
Even faster.
So I think we have a window now when it's open to influence this in another way.
We have window, but it will not stay open so long.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it was really a pleasure to talk about this thing. I hope that in the future we will have much better solutions.
Yes.
But anyhow, it's very important for lots of people to know, to be aware that our freedom and our democracy is in danger.
Yeah, very much so.
And if we don't do nothing, if we sleep in democracy, we will wake up in totalitarianism.
Yeah.
Jacob, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure, and I hope we see you soon in some new conference.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Gospodin Jacob Nordangard je sudjelovao u konferenciji u Stavangeru, Norveškoj pod imenom Spotlight. Tamo je imao prilike prezentirati sva svoja otkrića, prezentirati svoje knjige i najvažnije dijelovi njegovih informacija, prezentacija i knjiga možete vidjeti u ovom kratkom sljedećem izlaganju.
Our first speaker is Jacob Nordangard, who is a Swedish fellow countryman of mine. And I had the pleasure to interview him recently. He is a Swedish researcher and author with a PhD in social change and technology from Linköping University. He's recently written an extremely interesting book that I'm about to start reading very soon, and I'm super excited about that. And his lecture will be based on his latest book, which is The Digital World Brain, and it will inform us about how we are moving into a global digital surveillance and control society. So a big applause to Jacob Nordangard.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Yes, it's working. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. My talk is called Shapers of the Future, the Digital World Brain. I will go through the idea to create an organ to manage global challenges, a world brain, and how this has become a part of the United Nations' current efforts to upgrade the multilateral system. What they refer to as our common agenda. This grand project, however, risks developing into a global technocratic dictatorship. This is my books. Rockafeller, that's about the climate agenda, the background to how the climate agenda evolved. And the global coup d'etat, that's about the background to the pandemic, on the pandemic side. And my latest book, The Digital World Brain. And that is the talk that I'm going to give, more or less about the digital world brain. The shapers. Who have shaped this agenda? This is a quote by Zbigniew Brzezinski. He said this in 1970. Power will gravitate into those who control information and can correlate it most rapidly. Our existing post-crisis management institutions will probably be supplemented by pre-crisis management institutions, the task of which will be to identify in advance likely social crises and to develop programs to cope with them. This could encourage tendencies during the next several decades toward a technocratic dictatorship, leaving less and less room for political procedures as we now know them. One can say about Zbigniew Brzezinski that he was a kind of a futurist or a futurologist. Those are people that are whose specialty or interest is futurology, or the attempt to systematically explore predictions and possibilities about the future. It shall not be confused with futurism as an art movement, but it shares some similarities or parallels with the idea to reshape society, to destroy the old order, to create something new, and also the idea of that industrial management is the best tool to achieve this. Futurists are motivated by change, always change. They are not content merely to describe or forecast. They desire an active role in world transformation. And they have grand ideas about the future, a vision about perfection, creating a utopian society. But also the idea of doomsday. This is Thomas Malthus, lived in the 18th century, and he said that we have to do something about population. We have to control population, because if population grows too much, we won't have enough food to eat. And this is a big prophet among a lot of futurists, as we shall see. And also, these shapers and futurists, they think that technology is the savior. This is a religion of technology. Technology can solve anything in the eyes of these futurists. You probably heard of H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells, the science fiction writer. He was also had big visions for the world, and he was called the first futurist. He had ideas of a future utopian society, and he wrote a book called The World Brain. A perfect ideal society run with management techniques. And he also described this, how we should create this new world through an open conspiracy. He had a friend called Julian Huxley. Julian Huxley was founder of the UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization in 1946. He also had these visions of a future society run by scientists, run perfectly. And he was also an internationalist, of course, and an eugenicist. He wanted to create a better man. And he coined transhumanism, the idea of the merging of man with a machine. And he called this the evolutionary humanism. With evolution, we will create something new and leave the old behind, the old human. And these ideas that Huxley and Wells had came to this fellow, Professor Oliver Reiser. He had also an idea about this perfect society. He wrote a book called The World Sensorium. That's what he called the world brain, the world sensorium, a sort of a world federation run by scientists. And he sketched up a plan for this in this book, Cosmic Humanism and World Unity. And he stated that what they wanted to achieve in this utopia was global political cultural integration, a common language, which I would say is the computer language that we share now, a world religion. We discuss in this book how to create a new world religion, and a controlled evolution, control humanity, the population, through eugenics, transhumanism, and to technologically interconnect whole humanity. And this would develop into a world organism with a world brain. Every people connected together in one whole, and with one at the top, a brain that manages everything. And also education to instill the right global values. He referred to this grand project as the Solomon's Temple. but not a physical temple in Jerusalem, but a temple in the sky. So, quoted here, he said, the stellar temple as here proposed is the vision that man should be projecting. It will not have its foundation in any spot of the surface on earth. It will be a temple in the sky. And you can see here all the idea of science running everything. And the United Nations as a world government with world news and a world university. A utopian idea. But people, these futurists wanted to achieve. And how to achieve this? The doomsday clock. You know about the doomsday clock. It's in the University of Chicago since 1947. And it's very close to 12 now. I think it's 90 seconds. And this is Eugene Rabinovich. He was an editor of a magazine, Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, one of his scientists, futurists. And he said in 1947, if a world government causes to triumph, it will need more than the sympathetic endorsement by the majority. People must be made to feel that their own security, freedom, and prosperity, yes, their very survival, depend on the creation in our time of the world rule of law. We have to scare people to get what we want. And the world future society. Here we find these futurists, this grand vision, all these ideas that Huxley's and Reiser and the scientist of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists had, came to the World Futurist Society, founded in 1966, with the idea they wanted to be a part of this. They wanted to develop methods to help co-create and architect a better future and a better world, run by the scientists. And this is some of the famous futurists that was a part of this, or still is a part of the World Future Society. Buckminster Fuller, Arthur C. Clarke, Gene Roddenberry, that's the Star Trek originator, Herman Kahn, Alvin Toffler, and Ray Kurzweil, as you probably know about. He has the Google now, and he talks a lot about the singularity. And these futurists, they also discussed scenarios about the future. Herman Kahn, in 1967, he published this book, the year 2000, about ideas about how this future would evolve and what they wanted to have from the future, what they wanted to create. So grand visions for what would happen. And a lot of these things you can see have evolved today. And these ideas, the futurists, they were working at institutions like this, Stanford Research Institute and the RAND Corporation. Think tanks that is very well connected with the military. The military has always been futurists. And when we come back to the doomsday clock, the world problematic, and the Malthusian ideas, if we don't do these changes, doomsday awaits. And the most important think tank for these ideas was the Club of Rome, founded in 1968 by Aurelio Peccei. He was the second man at the Fiat motor company. And these doomsday prophets have had a enormous influence on the agenda about what happens if we don't adjust the system and create a world federation or a world management to keep humans and the planet in check. This was a think tank by the wealthy people. We also find people like David Rockafeller were involved in this, and his friend, the head of Fiat company, Giovanni Anelli. At the same time, we had some books that came out talking about this changing of society into something totally new. Between Two Ages by Brzezinski, Huge Shock by Alvin Toffler, and the mentioned Aurelio Peccei, The Chasm Ahead. Something would happen to create this new society. And at the Stockholm Conference in 1972, Sweden is into this agenda run by the General Secretary Maurice Strong, but also was very well connected to the Rockefeller network and also a futurist. He was a member of the World Future Society and the Club of Rome with this idea of changing society. Here this agenda was introduced on the international arena. And in 1975, World Future Society had a meeting in Washington where we discussed how can we do this? How can we create and influence opinion and everything so we will get to the society we want to achieve. And this is Warren Wager. He said, there is no better time to implement radical changes than after a worldwide catastrophe. That's the thinking. And at this same meeting, Erwin Laszlo, a member of the Club of Rome and a member of the World Future Society, presented this project, Goals for Mankind, a Club of Rome project. In this report, they have defined through computer modeling that the resultant ideal sustainable population is hence more than 500 million but less than 1 billion people in the world. And this has been repeated a lot of times. And this is, of course, yeah, Gro Harlem, Brundtland. The Brundtland Commission, one of the most important reports ever written about, and that's the futuristic agenda. That's the scientific agenda. That's how to create this future technocracy. That's in our common future. And they always state this. It's common, together, the world organism. Gro Harlem Brundtland, together with Maurice Strong. They are both members also of the Trilateral Commission, David Rockefeller's elite organization. Very influential report that led to this Agenda 21 in 1992, and with Maurice Strong at the helm again, and they stated, in our hands. We always say that like this, in our hands. We want the world in our hands. Is it the dove or is it the hand that takes the globe? The scenarios. These futurists had scenarios for how to create this new society. So, members of the Club of Rome and the Earth Charter Commission. We started this initiative, the Great Transition Initiative. And this was a plan on, or they developed scenarios on how could the world evolve in the future. And you can see the globe in pieces put together again, like Build Back Better. And they say this in this report, a reconstituted world order. That's the goal. Before the crisis, global governance was effective primarily in one area, setting the terms for liberalized trade, deregulation, and privatization. But after something comes the World Court, the reconstituted World Union, and the World Regulatory Authority. We state this in this report. So we have an idea of creating a world government. And this is United Nations and the Rockafeller Foundation. They are behind this report. So we state this is printed. But how to achieve this? We have these scenarios, three main scenarios: conventional worlds, barbarization, and great transition, and they are divided in 6 parts that they saw in the future in 2002. The first, market forces, business as usual. That means power moves to the private sector, international banks, and the WTO. The UN is largely a toothless platform for international conferences. High-minded rhetoric and crisis management. Not good, according to them. Policy reform, on the other hand, the economy is aligned to environmental goals. Governments are able to forge comprehensive initiatives to align the economy with environmental and social goals. Incremental change is achieved, fundamental change is absent. It's not enough. And then comes the more scary scenarios that you might recognition regarding what happens a couple of years ago. The fortress world. This is a world where systematic global crisis deepens. When the systematic crisis deepens, powerful international forces are able to impose order in the form of an authoritarian system of global apartheid, with elites in protected enclaves and an impoverished majority outside. And I know those who wrote this report, they said when the pandemic arrived that it looks like we have a fortress world scenario now. And if this fortress world scenario don't work, as they can't keep the power, they see that we will have a breakdown. The authoritarian forces of fortress world are unable to counter spreading chaos as environmental and social crisis spiral. Control, conflict spreads, and institutions disintegrate. But bad. We don't want it that way. And if, from this is another scenario, if breakdown comes, we could develop something like this in the future. Eco-communalism. But this isn't the preferred scenario. The emergence of a patchwork of self-sustaining communities. And they state that this won't happen if it's not a recovery from a collapse. But this is the preferred scenario that they had. The new paradigm. We have global democratic governance. It looks like a high-tech future, as it did. It envisions the ascendance of new categories of consciousness, global citizenship, humanity as a whole, the wider web of life, and the well-being of future generations, alongside democratic institutions of global governance. So that's what they wanted to achieve.
and how to change the world. So they gave advice. And these reports are used by the United Nations Environment Programme. We have to create a global citizens movement that can create an alternative vision and effective strategy for realizing it. Conscious action must rise to the level of a global citizens movement. I don't know if you think of someone. Any name? A little Swedish girl, maybe? Greta. So that's one of the ways. The other way, triggers for transformation. This is from a follow-up report. We can't achieve this only with just movements that we create. Another path to general crisis might be initiated by an unprecedented pandemic, perhaps via an extremely contagious disease vector. And that's just one of them. This was written in 2006. And just 4 years later, the Rockafeller Foundation came with this report, Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. And they had the pandemic scenario, lockstep, and also an hack attack scenario. And we also had a more or less a breakdown scenario. And also the clever together. We work together as a whole human family to solve our problems. But this report was built on some premises. It was about how can we implement new technology, because this future utopia will be run with high tech. So they predicted a lot of new technology that would come, that was mature at that time. But people hadn't accepted it, so how do we get people to accept this new tech? So it was based on this work. The common agenda. In 2012, the future we want, it was stated. By whom? Not by us, I think. But some people wanted a future, and some of them, you can see here, the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, they actually was behind this slogan, the future we want. So they furthered the agenda, and they decided that because of the bad feeling we had from these doomsday scenarios, how all the world will just collapse and everything would be awful, we had to paint it in a better way. So that's where we get the Agenda 2030. That looks very good if you look on the surface, but not if you look inside. Because this is what's inside, of course. Klaus Schwab and his book, it came just some months after this Agenda 2030, in late 2015, and presented at the World Economic Forum meeting in 2016. And yeah, this is a new futuristic manifesto, I would say. The idea of reshaping humanity and the planet with increased digital technology, reshaping the physical world, altering the human. I remember reading that at that time, and I asked, what are they saying? This looked like a Nazi propaganda book or something like that. And last, integrating the environment. And everything is about technology. And then we have the partnership with the United Nations. And they were supposed to work together now with this. to shape the future with all these shapers and groups. And they announced that now a decade of action would come. And Greta arrived in New York. And they stated it's a planetary emergency plan. We must have an emergency. And this was done by the Club of Rome at the same meeting. We have to declare an emergency. And then came the Great Reset. With the pandemic declared, it was just like in the lockstep scenario by the Rockefeller Foundation. Just a few months later, Klaus Schwab declared the Great Reset. And Antonio Guterres, stated that we had to do something. And the United Nations, they did that. They arranged a meeting, the Global Governance Forum. You can see that Gro Harlem Brundtland was there as well. And they now had a plan, a big plan, called Our Common Agenda. And this report resembles what's stated in the Rockefeller report about, Can't I go back? About controlling the future. Yeah. So this is our common agenda. And everything is about how can we control the game and everything around us. And if we don't do it, we will have more planetary crisis, the Club of Rome has told us. And the next thing came, the trigger, the war in Ukraine. Just a few months later, another former prime minister, the Swedish Stefan Löfven, were heading the new multilateralism platform, a high-level panel, to create incentives to achieve this, our common agenda. But it was other people that were very influential in this. Farman Shanmugaratnam in the background, a part of a group of 30. And he stated that things will get worse. We have entered a perfect long storm. And behind this panel, we also find the Global Challenge Foundation with the Swede Johan Rockström, stating what we have to govern our climate future better. And in 2024, when we have a meeting called Summit of the Future, that we will decide this new agenda. It's a pact for the future, and they will adapt tools for better to cope with pandemic disease, runaway climate change, violence in fragile states, economic shocks, and cyber attacks. And they will have a declaration for future generations, because they don't count on the current generations. The current generations are a problem. So, recognizing that we are in an era of existential threats with intergenerational consequences. And they also will have an envoy for future generations, because we are the generation that destroy. And they want to an envoy for future generations, and they have talked about making it an artificial intelligence that decides for the future. They also have something called the Global Digital Interdependence, a global digital compact. That's a major part of this agenda. Everything digitized, everything is about data, collecting data from everyone. We took help from Melinda Gates and Jack Ma from the Alibaba Group. That's the ones that created the social credit system in China. And digital ID, of course, a system that won't allow us to do anything without have this ID. restrictions everywhere if we don't follow. And space is a big part of his agenda. Global satellite monitoring of the whole Earth system. This is the satellite temple. And we also have the idea of creating a futures lab where we want to filtrate all data in this system in order to predict human behavior patterns and climate risk. That's the things we want to do. We talk about creating a digital replica of our planet. So they can monitor, understand, simulate, and anticipate future events. So that's why we need to digitize it. And also this control of information, the Ministry of Truth. And they state here, the ability to cause large-scale disinformation and undermine scientifically established facts is an existential risk to humanity. And that we own the science. Melissa Fleming from United Nations said this. And we know what science this is. This is climate science, and this is health science. Influencing behavior. We have this idea to influence how can we, through sludging and nudging, influence people to think better. And we're going to release a global catastrophic risks report every 5 years to see what will happen next. What kind of future complex shocks can we see in the future? Climate events, future pandemics, event involving biological agents, and things like that. Unforeseen black swan event. As Klaus Schwab said, there will be certainly what we call the black swans, the unpleasant surprises which will come in our way. In order to fix this, they have created or have said they want to create an emergency platform that will automatically be put together when a crisis hits, together a multi-actor network, all the grand players, big corporations in it to solve the crisis. We talk about Global Health Threats Council. And that they want to have a new global surveillance system in order for the pandemics, to handle the pandemics. But we also want to save the whole planet. The Global Commons Alliance, a big plan for a small planet. It's an initiative by the Rockafeller Philanthropy Advisors and the super rich foundations. Oh, wait.
It's a good time to wrap up.
What?
I think we need to wrap up.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there's something wrong with the presentation here. But they want to achieve a system of more or less total control of the Earth system with planetary stewardships and create a warp speed plan to handle this. And this is a problem, of course, with this is my ecological footprint. And I live a modest life, but 4 Earths. But what about these people that are behind this, these super rich billionaires that has funded these projects? What action is needed across systems by 2030? Here we have Bezos Earth Fund that are funding this project. What are Bezos doing? Here is Jeff Bezos' lifestyle. As you can see, he states he will work with climate change. Climate change is the biggest threat to our planet. He even has his own rocket. But, and now I will end this, it's all about technology, of course, and the scientific management of our planet to lead us to this zero-carbon future. Schwab has said, who master those technologies in some way will be the master of the world. And this is where we could be heading if these people get their way into a singleton decision-making agency at the highest level. Once formed, a future singleton might be perpetually stable. This could happen if surveillance, mind control, and other security technologies develop in such a way to enable a singleton effectively prevent the emergence of internal challenges. All we have to do is declare the planetary emergency. The doomsday clock is very close. And this is from the Great Transition. As they declare the planetary emergency, using a revamped United Nations as their platform, a state of planetary emergency is declared. A campaign of overwhelming force, rough justice, and draconian police measures sweeps through hotspots and conflict and discontent. We can hope, but we don't get this future. And I don't think they will succeed. This is their idea of a digital world brain. You can read all about it in my book. But I don't think they will succeed because they don't work with truth. They work with lies. And truth always wins in the end. Thank you.
Vjerujem da informacije koje ste čuli su vas naveli na razmišljanje. I mene su. Nužno je kritički razmišljati, nužno je informirati se, pa tek onda donositi zaključke. Ako ćemo vjerovati svemu što piše o naslovnicama ili ono što nam prezentiraju mainstream mediji, vjerovatno ćemo biti u najvećem dijelu u zabludi. Stoga imali ste priliku sami čuti, vidjeti, postaviti pitanja, pa donesite svoje zaključke i svoje uvjerenja. Ako ste zadovoljni sa ovim što radimo i kako radimo, ako ste zadovoljni sa gostima koje vam donosimo, nagradite nas, kupite nam kavicu, puno će nam značiti, pomoće nam u našem radu i bit ćemo još motiviraniji da i u buduće budemo sve bolji. Jedini koji uistinu mogu ocijeniti naš rad ste vi, naši gledatelji. Hvala vam lijepo još jedanput i vidimo se u nekoj idućoj epizodi.
Nitko vas neće natjerati da se poklonite zvijeri, učinit ćete to svoje voljno, odbacujući vjeru. Bićete laka meta za zvijeri, jer se niste podredili vjeri. Ako se ne podredite vjeri, podredit ćete se zvijeri. Toliko ćete se suobličiti sa ovim svijetom, da nećete ni prepoznati da ste u zabludi. Biće to najveća demonska prevara ikada i pravedno zaslužena osuda nad nepokajanim grešnicima.
Gdje su svi oni koji su nas liječili, zakletvom iz mrtvih prizali, svojom šutnjom ste nas izdali? Gdje su svi oni koji su nas liječili, zakletvom iz mrtvih dizali? Zar su nas i oni izdali?
Gdje su svi oni koji su nas liječili, zakletvom iz mrtvih dizali? Svojom šutnjom ste nas izdali.